Okay, now I have to see who accepts the stream. Okay, Twitch has accepted the stream. YouTube has accepted the stream. Waiting for Facebook to accept the stream. Good, Facebook has accepted the stream. Okay, now you want me to put it on your page?
Please,
Okay.
the Virginia Ginger Kerwin McIntyre page. Thank you, Richard.
Sure.
You're the best.
Okay, I'm going to put it on your page now.
Okay. And then we're going to have the timer?
You're going to have the timer too, yeah.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Richard. That always helps.
Okay, I'm on your page. And I'm
Thank you.
creating a post. Boy, Facebook is slow today. Waiting for it to post on your page. Yep. Okay, it's live on your page.
Okay. Thank you, Richard.
Okay, so let's do a test comment and make sure the comments are coming through.
Okay. That's a good idea. And this screen is closer, so I should be able to read it.
Let's see. Yep, there it is. Do you know where the comments are?
No, where are they?
In order to show you, you have to look at me.
Okay.
See that little monitor?
Oh, it's over here. Oh, it's Mick. Hey. Okay. You're looking well. Oh, thank you, Mick. All right. All right. So I'm going to have to read that. So I'm going to have to do this. It's okay. It's all right.
Why don't you ask Mick if he wants a reading?
Oh, you know, that's Mick. You want a reading? Put it in the comments.
Okay.
Okay. So let me know.
All right.
Okay, we
Now
go to
let's get the timer set up.
Okay. Mick, you're always looking well, too. Even though I can't see you. Mick's got a show. Mick's World. He doesn't want a reading. Oh, okay. Is your girlfriend watching tonight? Maybe she wants a reading. Tell Kelly to get a reading.
Timer.
We'll be doing this all night.
I know.
Because I don't have my other glasses. Or you can just call and bring in what?
Bring it up on the computer.
You just bring it up. Oh, listen,
Okay,
don't
now,
make things more difficult for us,
You
Mick.
can see the comments over there.
Oh,
Oh, okay, cool. All right, all right.
So you both are able to see the comments.
Okay,
Yes, all
good.
right. I love it.
So if you want to be in charge of reading the comments, you can.
Yes, you can be. Thank you.
That'll be one less thing that Virginia has to do.
But I'll still do it anyway.
Okay.
This is
Okay,
fun, isn't it, Theresa?
so
I love doing this.
the timer's in the center of the screen. It says 5.
Okay. All right.
When it says on the air, you're on the air, okay?
Okay, I'm ready. I got all these screens. Good evening. Welcome to Think Twice Radio, Home of the Future. And we're here with Richard Wicca and Theresa Johnson, and I am Virginia McIntyre, and this is the podcast for Illuminating Forward, the podcast. And tonight we have a bit of a Niagara Frontier celebrity. We have Theresa Johnson with us, and she is a psychic medium, and she does past life regressions, and she teaches classes, and she's got a website that we're going to talk about later. And we're not doing readings through a phone call. We're doing them through texting. So if you want a free reading tonight, you can get them from Miss Johnson, and we'll be ready to go. But we have like things to talk about. So just so you know. We have some very interesting things to talk about. But one of the things I was hoping that Miss Johnson could talk about before, because we were talking about it before the show started, was Mercury retrograde, because I can't explain it. I am not an astrologist. I never could have professed to be. However, I've heard about it, I've read about it, but I can't talk about it. And Theresa's got some very interesting information to give people. So please go right ahead and talk about Mercury retrograde and what it means right now.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. I love doing podcasts, number one. And number two.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, this is fun. This is fun. I am a spiritual astrologer, which means I don't get into the forecast, and I can't do your horoscopes, really. What I do with the spirituality of astrology, and that's how I got into past life regression as well, is look at your sign, your sun, your moon, your rising signs, the big 3. Then I look at Saturn, which is your past lives and your karma. And Saturn is the hard taskmaster. So, for instance, Saturn has been sitting in Pisces and Virgo for the last 3 years. So I have been reading for Pisces and Virgo for the last 3 years. And this is a biggie because Saturn is finally going to be moving out of Pisces and Virgo. And it's going to be in Aries and Libra, March 7th of 2025, which first of all will give Pisces and Virgo a break. And believe me, Pisces and Virgo need a break because they've been catching it for the last 3 years. Saturn is hard lessons learned. It's going to go into Aries, and it's going to go into its opposite sign of Libra. And that's when the weather is going to start to get really wonky. And it's starting already. If you'll notice, half our country is drowning and the rest of it is on fire. So that's what's kind of happening.
That's a good point. That I really like the way you put that, because that's exactly what's happening. Drowning, and we have fires out west in Wyoming now.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So Aries is is ruled by Mars, which is the god of war. And that's what's going to be happening when Saturn ingresses into both of these. But before we get that, and that's March 5th of 2025, even though, Pisces and Virgo might be getting some relief, and Aries and Libra are starting to feel it, Mercury is going retrograde. Now, Mercury is the planet of communication.
This is what I learned tonight.
And
That's what
when
I learned,
Mercury
people.
goes,
Listen up.
Well, when Mercury goes retrograde, all communications go awry. And we live in the electronic age. We live in a computers age. We live in an AI, artificial intelligence age.
It's scary too.
Yeah, it is, really. The last time Mercury went retrograde, because it goes retrograde 4 times a year, planes, 12-hour delays, or really not even getting there at all. Computers going down. We got hacked. Remember there was a Microsoft issue with... They got hacked. Or there was an update that failed.
Yeah, there was an update that failed or something like that. I vaguely remember it.
Yep.
Vaguely remember it, yes.
And when that happened, also AT&T Mobile, they all went down as well. So that was a massive Mercury retrograde undertaking, And then it took a while to fix that. while people
Yes.
were stranded wherever they were stranded, So good old Mercury in retrograde is about to start again, which means check yourself, check your plans, check everything, check, and then check again. Keep your viruses programs updated because hackers love to do this during this time of year. So don't click on any links that you don't recognize.
This is practical information. This is practical information.
Yeah. And here we go. It's going to be for 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay, we can live with 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's the retro shade period right now, which means it's 7 days before Mercury goes awry. So the retro shade is 7 days, and we're right around the 14th. Everything, you're going to notice that plans are just going to start to go awry. And then it'll be 3 weeks until things start to straighten themselves out. The point of Mercury retrograde is to make everybody slow down, check, rinse, repeat, rinse again.
I love this spiritual horoscope. I love this. I mean, not horoscope, astrology.
Yeah.
I love this. This is all practical, helpful information.
It helps to know it. It
Yes,
helps to
it
know
helps
it.
to know it.
On top of Mercury going retrograde.
To slow down, slow
Yes.
down. Meditate more. Take care of yourself.
Think, breathe.
Breathe. Yeah.
And we've just come through a really racy period. The election is over now. Everybody can take a deep breath, but you may not be getting your snail mail. I mean, there's still some
Yeah.
ballots to be counting. They may not arrive when they should either. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So if there are some elections still to be called, they may be cooling their jets, waiting on that decision. And this is the last retrograde of the 2024 season. But again, Mercury retrograde goes retrograde 4 times a year. So I write about it.
I never knew this before. Nobody ever explained this to me. They would talk about Mercury retrograde and everybody would complain about it. And I'd be like, okay, whatever. But this is practical information. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll tell you, everything electronic, during this, I usually have a car problem. 1 out of 3 Mercury retrogrades, I'll have a car problem. But I'm only one of several people sitting in a mechanic shop going, oh, well, Mercury retrograde, here we go again, And I've done everything I could. I maintain my car, but it is what it is. So maybe I was driving somewhere, the transmission decided it was going to have a problem, and maybe I wasn't supposed to get there when I got there. Understand?
Right, and I'm having electrical problems
Yeah.
with my car right now. My mechanic, who I trust, really, really trust him. He's a good mechanic. He told me that my sensors are on. There's no reason for my sensors to be on. For 2 sensors, he said, drive it
Yeah.
on the thruway tonight. Come in tomorrow, we'll check it out, but you got to drive it. And this is electrical.
Yeah.
Sensors on my car, because our cars are computer now.
Yeah. They're all computer now. So I would have to say, though, even a flat tire can happen during Mercury retrograde. I've gotten it all. I've gotten a flat on the thruway because I drove on a nail.
I know.
Yeah.
That shouldn't have been there, but it was
Just a
there. It was
nail.
there, and as we were talking before the show started, I'm planning a trip to the Adirondack Mountains, and just this morning, and this and this isn't a good idea after listening to this, and I'm having sensor problems and all this stuff. But also, just this morning, a friend of mine who is very with it, sensitive human being goes, Virginia, I like the Adirondacks in May.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not a good idea for me to rush and get to the Adirondacks before the water freezes. Maybe I should rethink this and
Freak snowstorms during Mercury retrograde. Freak snowstorms.
You and I both had one.
Yeah.
You and I both had one. I had one a couple of years ago. It was bad. It was really, really bad. So maybe I should just wait till the spring, and that's what's going to have to happen.
You know what I've learned? Trust your gut.
Trust my gut and trust what comes to you.
That's exactly right. If you feel that it's not a good time to go, it probably isn't. Especially
And if you feel like
know.
you're, and plus, if you feel like you're getting information for a certain reason, you probably are.
That's exactly it. Slow your roll. Wait. You know, Mercury retrograde will be over right around December 13th, but who wants to go to the Adirondacks in December? Because
Nobody.
now we'll get a freak snowstorm and you could be there until spring.
Right, right, and that's a long ride home.
Yeah.
That's a long ride home.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So, yeah, and my friend and I this morning we didn't discuss Mercury retrograde, but again, I'm hearing that this is probably not a good idea for
Nope.
me.
Trust
And,
your gut. Trust your
my
gut.
Trust my gut, and that's what I'm going to do. That's very valuable information. Somebody's asking me about the Odyssey project, which I'm not going to deal with right now on the show. What I'll do, Mick, is I will call you later and we can talk about that. We're not going to talk about it on the Tonight Show, but if your girlfriend wants a reading, we're available. So. And you brought your tarot deck.
I did.
Can we show one of your cards?
Sure.
I want to show people,
Yep. This is the Cosmic
so
Tarot deck.
So do you mind if I touch it? Is it all right?
No.
Some people
that's
get
not
upset.
Me.
Okay.
That's not me.
Okay, here we go. Okay, look at this. Oh, look at. Okay, we're going to turn it this way. This is a tarot card, and it's called the Wheel of Fortune. And just for everybody who wants to know, I have had my tarot cards read. I am not a tarot card reader. I am an evidential medium, which is completely different. This is a whole different language. It takes a lot of studying, which of course Theressa is well known for her classes in tarot deck. This is a beautiful card. Let's show the other side. We got the celestial things going on because you're a spiritual horoscope person. That is beautiful. And is that a lotus flower in the middle?
It looks like it.
Yeah, it does. And you got the sun and the moon, and this is just beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much for showing these. And then it's got the number at the top. Oh yeah, this is beautiful. And then it's got it's got the celestial thing. Happy. Thank you for showing me that.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. So somebody wants a message. Oh, Maria Minio.
Hi, Maria.
Oh, this is fabulous. Okay, Maria. I just love Maria.
Maria, could I ask her for your date of birth, please? I just need the month and the day.
You can ask her anything you want, and she can just type it in.
Okay. Could I ask the month and the day, please? Hi there.
Just give her a few minutes. Oh, yeah, Maria's, a special friend of mine. I remember during COVID, Maria had all the... Okay, I'm going to be quiet now. Oh, look at this. All right, there we go. All right. Okay, we have another monitor. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, Maria.
Okay, May 18th. Now, you have a fun birthday there because you're Taurus, but you're right on the cusp of Gemini. And what a cusp means is that if you had been born just a few days later, you would be Gemini. So I look at you as a Taurus Gemini as opposed to a Gemini Taurus, which first of all means that you should read both horoscopes. You should read your Taurus horoscope and you should also read your Gemini horoscope. Now, Taurus and Gemini, that's probably a past life. And it feels to me right now, because I did draw the Six of Pentacles.
We're going to show you the card.
Now, Pentacles, Taurus is a very financial sign, just so you know. And Pentacles is success. So what that means is that in the next 3 months, whatever you've got going, you're going to really have success at, number one. Number two, I have the feeling that because you're in a cusp, you have been a Gemini in a past lifetime. Now, Gemini can be very irresponsible. Taurus is very responsible, and it feels like in a past life you were a Gemini. You're still a Gemini, but you brought Taurus in for you, not just for financial responsibility, but also for emotional stability. So again, Gemini, have fun, But as well, Gemini's messages seem like a good idea at the time. Taurus is it really a good idea? So balance it out. If you'll notice the card, you're going to see a balance there. Standing right at the edge of that cliff, your karmic lesson is about balance. Know when to be the Gemini and have fun. Know when to be the Taurus and think, yeah, sounded like a good idea, but maybe not. So I'm going to leave that with you. And don't
Wonderful.
remember,
That
in the
was
next 3
beautiful.
months, you're going to get a lot of financial blessings. So I'll leave that with you with love and blessings.
Oh, thank you. I don't know about you, Maria, but I thought that was fabulous. There was such an uplifting and thorough message. Uplifting, it's important in this business. I think that we uplift people.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, some of these people, this doom and gloom, and like,
I know.
like somebody's gonna, like croak or something like that. And I hate to be so blunt with my speech, but really, may I have who is this? This is Candace.
Aiello.
Okay.
Hi, Candace. Could I ask your date of birth, please?
She's going to come and give you which is very an encouraging thank you from Maria.
You're very welcome, Marie.
Okay, Candace. Okay, so you're going to get a message from Theressa, and Maria's message was really uplifting, and these cards are beautiful.
Now, September 18th. Now, you're a fun one, too. I love cusp people. And again, a cusp is when you're born on one sign, but if you had been born a few days later, you would be the next sign. So you are Virgo Libra, where if you were born later, you'd be a Libra Virgo. And I'm going to hand you this card, which is the tarot card for Libra. If you'll notice, it's the scales of balance, and Libra is all about balance. So Virgo, and Virginia and I were talking about this before the show begins. There is a planet called Saturn, which is sitting in Pisces and Virgo right now, which means that it's been your time of learning. Saturn is the taskmaster. Karma gets a bad rap. If something goes bad in a past lifetime, bring that forward and work on it. If something goes good in a past lifetime, bring that forward and work on it too. Because I picked the card of Libra for you, I'm thinking that you were Virgo in a past lifetime. Now, Virgo can be black and white. Virgo can be yes or no. There's no gray there. There's no maybe there. And that's the feeling that I have with you in a past life. You're very tunnel vision, very strict. Libra comes in this lifetime and says, might not be black and white, might be gray. Might not be yes or no, might be maybe. Again, it's the scales of balance. Libra likes to see both sides of an issue. So I also have a feeling that you were a politician in a past lifetime. You were a very powerful politician. And in this lifetime, you're learning to balance your opinions. So you'd be great as a social worker. You'd be excellent as a social worker because you're both black and white, but then you turn around and see the maybe also. And you see that crown there? That crown means that you're at the top of your game. You're not just balanced, you're at the top of your game. You also have insight, and that's why I'm saying that you would be very good as a social worker, a therapist, and guess what? Some of the best social workers are waitresses and hairdressers and bartenders.
This is true.
When you work with people, you have a really good insight into people. So again, the insight there, that's clairvoyance. That is clear sight, which is insight for people. And I'm feeling a grandmother figure with you, and it's on Mom's side of the family. And I feel like she might have passed away from a lung condition, a respiratory condition. I'm feeling a heaviness in my chest right now. If it wasn't a lung condition, it was a heart problem. And she wants me to tell you that all is solved. She simply went to sleep for a while, and when she woke up, there was nothing but feeling very light. She wasn't heavy anymore. She says, when you think of me, it's because I'm around you, and look for the lights to flicker. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll say God's blessings. Thank
Oh,
you for letting me read
That
you.
was beautiful. That was beautiful. So Candace, I really hope that you enjoyed that reading. That was really beautiful. I loved how you incorporated the card, the tarot card, and the crown and whatever into your insight and your psychic abilities. It's really it's really something. As I said to our audience, I've had a couple tarot card readings in my life, but I am not a tarot card reader because it's like a whole new language, and it's not something that people should take lightly. That they should really study it. So, talking about studying it, you teach classes in this. Now, what are you offering now?
Psychic and mediumship development, which covers as many modalities as I can teach. And I'm teaching online and in person at Painted Love Studio, which is on Belmont in Tonawanda.
Right
And I
across
teach
the
on-
street, right across the street from St. John the Baptist Roman
Yes,
Catholic Church.
That's exactly it.
My grandfather went to church there. That's why I remember.
Yeah. Most people think that they are not psychic, and most people think that they are not mediums.
This is true.
And most people think, oh, I can't do this. But here's the thing that I found out. When you have insight into somebody, it's a psychic message. And sometimes when you don't know where the words come from, they just come all of a sudden. It's because somehow, some way you've connected with your spirit guide and you just know the right thing to say.
That's right. That's right.
And
That's
the
so right.
validation comes when someone says, oh my God, I didn't think of it that way. Thank you so much. And that is the best validation in the world. It's an insightful conversation. So when I teach that to my students and they go, you mean I've been reading all along?
Right.
I'll say yes.
Yes.
Because insightful conversations happen over the cabbage at Tops. They happen while you're sitting next to somebody by the water.
This is a beautiful way to put it, Theresa. This is really a beautiful way to put it. This is why, like I will go for the Christian Bible definition of gifts because I don't want people to think that they're just something that only special people have.
Absolutely.
We all have the ability, but it's what we do with the ability.
That's exactly
It's like
right.
anything. Sometimes, as an educator, I would have children that were really good at math. So, and other ones like myself were like, really? So we're all born with innate abilities.
And you know what?
They're very vast.
We're not taught that. We're taught math. We're taught reading comprehension. We're taught science. We're not taught to have insight into others until we get into college.
Right, and then all of a sudden you're supposed to acquire it, like somehow way, but they're not teaching the practical way like
That's
you do
exactly it.
on how to do it. Because all of a sudden when you get into college, you're supposed to go through these written assignments on how to be more insightful
Yes.
and how to reflect and how to do this and how to do that. Whereas if you have a spiritual teacher, if you have a spiritual counselor, a spiritual horoscope person, I never heard of that before, but I'm into it now. I'm really into it because I'm getting all this practical information, and I'm a spiritual person, and we all are. But I'm really into spirituality, so it's like a whole different ball game that the whole world can open up for you. And when we've all walked into a room and felt uncomfortable at one time or another in our lives.
Empathy.
And that's the same thing. That's the same thing. You're like reading it. You're reading the energy.
That remark, read the room, that's
Yeah.
actually what people are doing. They're reading the room. I've been known to go into a store on a full moon, go, oh, no, thank you, and walk back out.
Good for you.
Mainly because I don't need cat food that badly. I can usually wait until the store's calmer. Because otherwise, you shouldn't feel dragged out just by going into a grocery store on a full moon. You shouldn't do that. But guess what? There is a medical reason. And I found this in the American Journal of Medicine. And then I handed it to my bosses because I used to work in medical research. And we would recruit during the full moon, and it did not go well. The full moon actually raises your adrenaline.
This
So-
is so interesting. This is why they have all these problems in the psych wards during a full moon and because of the lunar cycles. I mean, really.
The emergency room, or even retail, if you work in retail during the full moon, you can bet that people are going to spend more, but they have more anxiety. People go off their medicine more during the full moon. So it raises your
Really?
adrenaline. And because it raises your adrenaline, behavior gets impulsive. There's anxiety, there's sadness, there's depression. It takes the full moon 3 days to come, 3 days to be, and 3 days to leave.
That's right. It does.
And that's why I
That I
post
do
about
know.
the full moon. But that's why I post about the full moon. Now, my full moon is in Aries. I tend to not go out when the full moon is in Aries because I don't want to be cut off in traffic. That's not a good thing for me to do because I'll chase you.
Right, right.
So I tend to follow the full moon, and I write about the full moon. I always warn you about it because if you know it, then you're still going to have to go to work, and you're still going to have to do whatever you have to do, but you might be more patient. You might have more forbearance.
Or you might do something to take care of yourself a little bit warmer and cozier or whatever when you have this type of knowledge.
That's exactly right.
And this type of knowledge can now be found more in mainstream books and whatever, but they can also find it by talking to you.
It's not just that. Medicine is now following the full moon. Did you know that?
No, this is phenomenal.
I had an MD in one of my classes, and it was wonderful because he was following the full moon, which made him a more spiritually aware MD. And he only lasted 3 classes. His beeper kept going off, and he had to keep getting interrupted. But I give him all credit for wanting to learn the spiritual side of medicine, and there's always a spiritual side to medicine.
There's always is, and
Absolutely.
and now, well, for several years now, they allow Reiki at Roswell.
Absolutely.
And that's as far as I'm concerned, it's all coming from one source. That's the way I feel. I'm not judging anyone who thinks differently than I do, but I believe it all comes from one God. It comes from one source, what universe, whatever you want to call it. It really doesn't matter. There's many paths to this one great creator, and that's what I believe. And so I think it's wonderful that Reiki is being offered at Roswell. However, I did find out that you have to be a registered nurse to give Reiki at Roswell, which
Yes.
I don't necessarily believe with. But that's okay. That's okay. I mean, sometimes you don't get the whole pie, but you get a piece of the pie.
You know what? I think there might be a lawsuit there.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a
Yeah.
good point. A lawsuit there. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm a Reiki master.
Me,
But
so am I.
would not be allowed to give Reiki at Roswell, and I understand that from a lawsuit point of view.
Oh, because you were in healthcare.
Right.
So you understand liabilities and
Right.
whatever.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
I'm glad you're giving me this. I'm just like reaping. I'm soaking it in. I'm getting all this knowledge here.
But you know what else I found out about Roswell? They recognize all religions now. If you say that you want a witch doctor, they'll probably procure one for you.
That's
because
wonderful. That's wonderful.
spirituality-
That's the way it should be. That's the way it
Yes.
should be in all hospitals, in all walks of life,
Yes.
in all counseling. I remember when I was doing my postgraduate work, and the big thing was cross-cultural counseling.
Right.
And we didn't get into spiritual.
I
We didn't
know.
get into spiritual. And Yale University has done phenomenal research on mediumship and schizophrenics. And really, and some of the mediums out there in Lilydale were part of this research.
Right.
Other mediums from across the world were part of this research. And it's scientific research. They have proven that it's not necessarily schizophrenia with the people that they researched on.
Right.
They're not saying that schizophrenia doesn't exist.
Right.
They're saying, well, this is what we did, and we have so many thousands and thousands of people who say they're mediums, and it's true.
Yes, it absolutely is true. We
And it's
don't
true.
we don't access the entire portions of our brain.
That's right.
We don't do that, So and this is just a personal belief, but I do believe that some people were just born with the awareness from past lives. I believe that medicine and spirituality are no longer mutually exclusive. I think that the world is blending the two, and I think that the world is becoming more spiritual.
I think so too.
Yes, and I believe that some people are such strong empaths that it causes anxiety, it causes depression. How horrible is it to know what somebody else is feeling when all you're trying to do is go into a grocery store and get your cat food?
Right. And how many, I'm 67 years old. So when I was a young child, people would tell me that I was like too sensitive. And now as I'm older,
You
I
understand
go,
it.
I'm not too anything.
Right.
I'm just enough with the way I am. But I was always told that I was too sensitive, and I wasn't too sensitive.
No, you're an empath.
Exactly. And my mother knew it.
Yeah.
My mother knew it. My mother, I was raised in a home where my mother talked about spirituality and spirits and whatever. So, but I was also raised in the Presbyterian church. That's so I had both.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a mother that was always encouraging creativity and things of that nature.
Right.
You know.
I always knew things about people. I was 6 when my psychic ability kicked in.
Oh, this is a very good topic. Yes,
But see, nobody listens to a 6-year-old.
which is wrong.
Well, I remember I was at dinner one night. It was my mother, my father, my sister, and my cousin. And we were eating spaghetti. That's how clear my memory is, And I actually do remember things from when I was 3 years old because my mind cleared in very quickly when I was young. I put my fork down and I said, every minute someone is born and every minute somebody dies.
At the age of 6.
And everybody put their forks down, and there was some silence because everybody was trying to digest that. And then after a minute or two, it was like, okay, and everybody picked up their forks, and we all started eating again. That nobody listens to a 6-year-old.
You're right. Nobody listens to a 6-year-old.
But it was still just kind of unusual.
It's very unusual for a
Yeah.
6-year-old to say
It was a
something like that.
download. It was a download. For whatever the reason was, over the spaghetti dinner on a Wednesday, I had a download.
Wednesday night's pasta night. I have a friend of mine that says that all the time. Wednesday night is pasta night.
Yeah, and there you go. So I was always a different child.
I was always
never-
a different child too. I was always, and I used to play with spirits and sing and dance with them and carry on and whatever. And but they have done research now that they have learned that when a child is creative, they go into these schools that are set up for the Industrial Revolution, and so their creativity is squashed. And then they get into college and they want creative thinking and they
Right.
want all this stuff. Well, they've done studies now alongside them that suggest and prove that your spirituality, the same thing happens. It's squashed. The children learn.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't say that I'm not getting warm and fuzzy, like hugs because I said this or whatever. So the child learns through psychological principles to squash it.
That's exactly
The
right.
same thing with creativity. A child goes to school and he is coloring the sky and he makes it green and the teacher says, "Oh no, Johnny, that's supposed to be blue." Well,
That's right.
that's one of the worst things you can do to a child. And it's the same thing with spiritual concepts. It's the worst thing you can do. But we're socialized to do that, and maybe things will start changing now. I hope
think
so.
Things have to change. I actually believe that the pandemic started people on a more spiritual path.
That's a good
because
point.
The universe got to sit down. Understand? The universe got to time out. And because we were not as social, we started looking more into the spirituality of why we got to sit down. So at that point, I think that there was more of a move towards spirituality because people started thinking, why?
Why? And then and people could not deny that like the smog was lifting in Los Angeles. They couldn't that the air was fresher and whatever
Right.
because the cars weren't going and whatever.
Right.
People couldn't deny that because they actually saw it, tasted, and smelled it.
Our world changed. Our world changed in 2020. it continued in 2021. Now, we're still in a pandemic kind of thought. You know, I mean, COVID is still active. But for
It
those
is
of us
still active, you're
that
right.
got more thoughtful, we can't go back. We can't unthink what we thought. We can't unlearn what we learned during the pandemic.
Right.
So it changed people. You know, it changed people to the point where, okay, it had to happen. The last time, interestingly enough, that we had a pandemic was in 2018. And I looked because I'm a spiritual astrologist and I'm into karma and I'm into past life. And I had to look it up. It was 2018. And the Spanish flu killed more people than World War I did. So it took 100 years for us to have another sit down. And, you know, there's nobody alive from 1918. Nobody remembers the pandemic, but I believe in reincarnation. And that's why I do past life regression. And I really believe that in 100 years we came back and, oops, all right, another time out here. And here we are, you know, here we are.
So Marie, what did Marie say? So true. She's saying so true, so true. And you know, the pandemic did a lot of things.
Yeah.
The pandemic did a lot of things, and I really think you're right that it helped people to like go within.
Yeah. For
And-
those of us who became spiritually aware, that's what the pandemic did for them. You know, and it had to when you think about it, because nobody living today has ever been through a pandemic.
Right, and you know that's a good point. And people started reevaluating their lives.
Yeah.
People started reevaluating, like, why am I working this job? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? You know,
Yeah.
and people
It
started
changed
thinking.
people's thoughts patterns.
Yeah,
You know,
you know.
and a lot of people did become more spiritual. For those who did not become more spiritual, nothing changed. Nothing changed, but maybe nothing was supposed to change for them.
That's their journey.
Yeah.
That's their journey. You know, when I was in Sedona, I'm just recently. I just came back from Arizona, and I'm glad I did it before Mercury retrograde. I
Absolutely.
came back on the 5th. It was smooth sailing. So I met a young man that he got his dog during the pandemic, and he
Aw.
said, "I won't go anywhere without my dog now."
I love that.
And he said, "What a blessing my dog was to me during the pandemic." And this dog was the greatest dog. This dog was letting me pet her, and she was coming up next to me, you know, whatever. And he said, "So we're in Sedona," because he was from Portland, Oregon. He said, "And we're in Sedona, me and her, you know, and whatever." So you know, so it really did help people, the pandemic.
You know what? It affected animals too.
Yeah.
What was really strange is that the people went in and the animals came out, because all of a sudden they felt safe that they could come out. Somebody told me they saw a meerkat at the marina in downtown Buffalo. Somebody else said they saw a fox in the middle of the city.
There was a Fisher cat someplace where I know
Yeah.
where there was people. Yeah.
Animals felt safe enough to come out because the human beings went in.
Wow.
Isn't that weird? But there it is. The animals changed too during the pandemic.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. Now, not to change the subject, but I want to get in that you have a web page that people and a Facebook page. So can you talk about that so we can get people to like before the end of the show, people know
Yes.
how to find you.
First of all, the website is called TheresaJohnson.com. Now, you have to spell my name right. It's TheRessa
Double S.
Johnson.com. And on my website, I talk about everything. I talk about Mercury going retrograde. I follow Saturn, just like we talked about, and where it's going to ingress into Aries and Libra, March 5th. 2025, because that's a biggie. I talk about the new moon. I talk about the full moon. I talk about everything spiritually, astrologically happening. I also do that on both my Facebook pages. And again, my first Facebook page is Theressa, Theressa Johnson. My second page is Theressa Johnson Psychic Medium. So you can access one or both of my pages. Now, I've been talking a lot. I put a lot of jokes on there for the pandemic because I just wanted to keep people uplifted.
Good for you.
And because of that, I got a large following because people
Laughter
just
is
needed
good
to
medicine.
laugh. That's exactly
The indigenous
right.
say it all the time. Laughter is good medicine.
So because of that, I still post a lot of jokes.
Good.
You know, there were people
Good.
who were just so contentious about the election that all day yesterday I posted jokes and I posted a lot of motivational sayings, you know, because
I know
we have
you
to
did.
bring the
I know you did.
back
This
together.
this too shall pass. You
Yes,
posted. I
that's
saw
exactly
that today.
right.
I saw that today, and I thought of the election. I said, "This is right on. This is right on time for people." You know, and so
If you don't want to wade through the jokes, then just go to my website, you know. But I'll tell you, I've had total strangers come up to me and thank me for some of the jokes that I post.
Well, laughter's good medicine, Theresa.
It raises the vibration.
It really is. I had a friend of mine send me a picture of a coffee cup today, something about mileage or something, having mileage, you know, as a senior citizen. And it cracked me up today. It just cracked me up, you know, and it's important to laugh. And we have when we smile, there's chemicals that are fired in our brain.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
You know, so the same thing happens when you laugh. It's even more powerful.
And you feel better.
I have to have an MRI of my head once a year, and I always make sure that when I go in that tunnel, I smile.
Yeah.
And for that reason, because it shoots it out in your brain, and it helps you get through life.
And you feel better. You just feel better.
Spiritual astrology.
Yeah.
So now, there's a lot of people that, you know, they talk about these abilities, these clairs, you know. So we talked about being an empath. We talked about clairvoyance. Okay, so let's talk about clairsentience, because I think people have that a lot and they don't even realize it. That's a feeling of having that, you know, something's going to happen.
That's exactly right. I always tell my clients, listen to your gut. Now, clairsentience.
Now, I want you to know, everybody, that I got this advice from Theresa before the show started.
Listen
I
to
cheated
your
a little
gut.
bit. I little cheated a little bit. She goes, listen to your gut, Virginia.
Let me tell you, whenever this card comes up in a reading,
The moon.
first of all, your emotions are ruled by the moon.
Uh-huh.
And also that's again why people's emotions are so carried away during the full moon, you know. But whenever that card shows up, I always tell people to listen to your guts. That's clear sentience. That's clear sensing. And how many people say, I knew I should have gone left, but I went right anyway?
Right.
Or how many people will erase the right answer on a test and put the wrong answer?
And you're supposed to go with the first one all the time. I learned that in
That's
grammar school.
exactly
Always go
right.
with your first your first answer, the teacher would say, for multiple choice and whatever. Right.
That's exactly right. So there's a lot of times with spirits. Actually, I believe that most animals are clairsentient because animals rely on their intuition. They don't rely on the left side of the brain. They relied on their soul. They relied on the right side and perception. But with psychics and with mediums, you can sense spirit around you, you know? So clairsentience is both psychic and it's mediumship. And most people, when I get it out of them, most people will say, well, yes, I have sensed someone around me from time to time, but they don't know what to call it. They don't know that feeling. Right. Sometimes it's goosebumps. Sometimes people say, well, the hair will raise on the back of my neck. So that's clairsentience. It's your body responding to someone or something, some presence, as opposed to sometimes you just know the right thing to say. And once again, that's just clairsentience, where you're sensing. Moms have clairsentience.
Yes, they do.
How many
this
times
is all
do you
practical
lie
knowledge.
to your
This is
mom,
this
and
is
your mom will
practical
go,
knowledge.
do you want to tell me that story again?
Right.
Mom senses clairsentience.
Yes, right. And instead of I had eyes behind the back of my head, as my mother used to say.
Which is clairvoyance.
Right. You know, but it's important that, you know, people have these abilities, but it's what you do with these abilities.
Yes.
You know, and the way to hone them is to take classes with somebody like you.
Yes, because I increase your awareness of your self-awareness of your abilities. And when I increase your self-awareness, most of my students go, I've done that.
Right.
Because they just don't know that they've done that. They don't put a name to it, but they've done it, you know. Children are very clairsentient. They trust their gut because their left brain hasn't really clicked in yet. So clairsentience is a right brain operation. So,
Right. And, warriors.
Yeah.
Warriors
Oh,
trust their
yes.
gut. Veterans trust their guts who have been in combat.
Yes.
They trust their gut. I can walk into a situation and I can have the hair go back up, because I am a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
I can have the hair go up on the back of my neck, and I know, because
That's it.
and scientific research has revealed that before we get attacked or some sort of violence against us, our body knows it's coming
Yes.
within 30 seconds before it comes. So I have walked into places, had that hair go up on the back of my neck and go, and I don't turn around, I back out. And, and I have looked in the eyes of people and just know, well, yeah, I'm backing out. And now I know for real, right, that I'm following my gut. You know what I mean?
that's why I go into a store during a full moon and go, oh, no, thank you.
No, thank you.
And I'll wait.
No,
I
thank
don't
you.
need my cat food that much. But clairsentience, don't mix that up with empathy.
No.
No. Clairsentience is clear sensing of something, but empathy is when you feel it. And there's physical empathy and there's emotional empathy. I was teaching class and my knee hurt for 3 weeks. And I was unconsciously rubbing my knee while I was teaching. On the 4th week, I'd had enough, and I said, is there somebody in here with knee pain? And it was my friend Carol. She would sit next to me, but she needed a knee replacement. After that, Carol had to sit on the other side of the classroom because when I'm open, I'm not blocked at all. I can feel everything because I'm teaching it. So, and Carol did get a knee replacement, by the way, but she still had to sit on the opposite side, and that spurred her to get a knee replacement.
Well, sure.
She knew it was
Well,
coming,
sure,
but I
sure,
could
sure.
feel her pain,
Oh, my gosh.
and that was enough.
Well, that was enough, but I think it's important to note that sometimes we just feel messages from the
Yes.
other side, and we know, which is clear cognizance,
Yes.
that it's true. So these are skills that you help people develop, right?
Absolutely.
You know?
Clear cognizance is a knowing. Now, when I was a very young psychic and medium, I would ask my teachers, what is it that I know? And they all said, you'll know when you know it, which is really frustrating because I didn't know what I know.
Right.
But when I teach class, it's usually we'll just give an example of a yellow wall. I'll look at the wall and I'll say, is that wall candy apple red? The students will say no. I'll say, are you sure it's not candy apple red? My students will say no. I said, will you sell your soul to make me understand that that is not candy apple red? If they all say, we will not sell our soul, that is not candy apple red, that's clear cognizance. You know what it is. To the point where no matter what is offered to you, you cannot change. So that's how I decided to teach clear cognizance. That's the knowing.
That is a wonderful way. That is a wonderful way to teach it, because it is the sense that you know something is true, but you can't show people, let's say in black and white, that
Right.
it's true, but you know it's true.
Right. You can't be bought. You can't be coerced. You can't
Be lied to.
Yes. When you know it's true, you know it's true.
Right.
And that's a message. That's how you give a message, either psychically or in mediumship, when you absolutely know that what you're feeling is absolutely true.
Okay, so what else we got here? Oh, clairgustance.
That's a fun one.
That is a fun. So many people, when you talk about this one, they're like, "What?"
Let me tell you. Sometimes when I'm reading, I will get a taste of homemade apple pie.
Really? Well, I wish that happened to me.
Well, if you're a diabetic, that's not such a good thing.
Good
Because it starts
point.
up a craving.
Good point.
But when I'm doing a reading, I'll get chocolate. I'll get this taste, and I'll say, I think that there's somebody in spirit who would never dream of buying an apple pie. It had to be a homemade apple pie. And somebody will immediately recognize that taste. It's grandma's apple pie, understand? So it's a wonder. Homemade. You can't beat homemade. You just can't, you know? So it brings forth so many good memories when I can bring forth somebody from spirit who presented themselves because they don't know how else to present themselves except with something that's familiar.
Right.
Well, they were a good cook.
And the more of these clairs, as they call them for the French word, that you have, the more ability that spirit has to work with you.
Yes.
Because maybe spirit, that's the only way spirit can come through
That's
is
exactly it.
through a sense of taste, because it's very difficult for spirit to come through.
And that's their familiarity. So
Right.
they bring forth an apple pie. I hate it when they smoke because I'm allergic to cigarette smoke.
Are you really?
So I will get someone, and physically, because the cigarette smoke is so strong in my mind, my eyes will start to water.
Oh my goodness.
So first of all, I'll bring forth somebody and I'll say, you know, I'm bringing a cigarette smell to you from somebody who's on the other side. And before I proceed with this message, I'm going to have to ask them to stop because my eyes are watering and my nose is getting clogged, you know. And by that time, somebody's laughing and they'll go, oh my God, my dad was a chain smoker, you know. So that's how I'll bring forth somebody. Or cherry pipe tobacco. I love that smell. I'm not allergic to that. But, you know, I'll get a cherry pipe tobacco smell, and that's wonderful. And somebody will say, oh, yeah, my husband smoked a pipe for most of his life, you know?
And I get certain like perfume smells, and I can name them, so which helps in the reading. I'll say, well, who do you know that smelled like lilacs when you were a little girl?
Yes.
You know, whatever, or who had a lilac bush or
Yep.
something like that, and that always helps people because then they're like, really, you know, like, but this is how we do what we do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very healing for people.
To know that there's someone on the other side who can bring forth really good memories like that.
Yeah, and somebody on the other side that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes people, that's all they want to know. They just want to know that
They're okay.
that they're okay, and that, you know, or they want to say something. You know,
Right.
I get that a lot, where people just want to give a message to somebody on the other side, and they don't know necessarily how to go about that. You
Right.
know, and you know, because not everybody's going to call up Theresa and take a class. You
I
know?
always tell my clients, take a picture and just talk to the picture. If go somewhere private in your house, you don't have to talk out loud, talk in your mind, and just communicate with that picture.
What a gift.
And that starts it for them. You know?
What a
That
gift.
starts it for them.
You know, and there are mediums that use objects to help them.
That's psychometry.
Yeah.
We just taught that class.
Yeah, to help them connect with spirits on the other side,
Right.
and they'll use photos, jewelry, a gift, or whatever, and they will say, "Bring, you know,
Yeah.
something with you of this person, a piece of jewelry or a gift they gave you, or a photo, whatever."
photo.
A photo, you know, or whatever, and that also helps, you know, certain mediums, you know, because every medium's different. That's another thing that people don't seem to understand. It's like every attorney's different.
Yes.
Every doctor's different.
Yes.
And you know, people will radiate towards different types of people.
Right.
You know, I remember once I was sitting in circle with Lisa Williams, and I said to Lisa Williams, because I had somebody that was going through a very difficult time and wanted me to connect with this certain spirit. And I was like, it's not working. It's not working. And I'm like, I was getting like, what, why? You know,
Yeah.
you know, and then I thought maybe I'm trying too hard, because sometimes when you try too hard, you don't allow.
Right.
But Lisa Williams said, Virginia, very bluntly, as Lisa Williams would do, she said, the spirit doesn't like you. You have to make friends with the spirit. And I was like, wow. And the spirit ended up coming to me while I was washing my clothes in the basement, and said something to me that only this client could recognize
Right.
that it was from. And I thought it was an insult, and it turned out to be a term of endearment.
Nice.
And the spirit said to me, where said this, you know, term of endearment that he gave his family, and then he said, and where have you been? And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so it's all part of your training, when, because, it's just like spirits are just like people.
They are. And another misconception is that people think that psychics know everything.
We don't.
No, we don't. And spirits don't know everything either.
Right,
Just because you're on the other side, it doesn't mean that you
You're
know
the
everything
all-knowing
that
great
is,
poobah.
that was, and everything. but it's a misconception there, and it's I have to be honest and sometimes and say, I don't have that answer.
Good for you.
And,
Good
and
for
there
you.
are times when people will ask me really strange stuff, like, do you know when my mother will pass away? Now,
Ooh.
my answer is Spirit will not give me that answer, mainly because we have free will. We don't pass away until we're ready to go and our soul is ready and has learned all of our lessons that is needed and has left the body. So I've seen people hang on for weeks under the most amazing conditions. And then I've seen other spirits just go like that because they got permission to go and they were tired of being in that body. So, I don't have an answer for that. Spirit won't give me that answer unless I'm in the room, and I do have a medical background, and I know the physical signs of death.
Right, I know the physical signs of death.
And then I'll say, well, I don't think that he or she will last the day. But that's very different. It's nothing psychic that I'm doing.
There's not, no, that's a medical.
Yes.
That's a medical.
Yes.
That's a medical. And, there's a lot of variables with a lot of things. So, like sometimes people want me to predict the future for them. And what I tell them is I will give you options that
Yes.
I see. I see options because you're always in control. And you might decide to go down road A instead of B or C or D or E. And your whole life's going to change.
And it's all free will.
So exactly, and it's all free will for you to do that. So I will give you options, and
Yes.
and then you can figure out which one you want to take or which one you don't want to take, or maybe you'll dream up something else. Maybe you'll have as we say, a download,
Yes.
and you'll be guided in another direction. So
And then people will ask me for numbers, and that's really annoying. I don't have that
Numbers.
ability. I cannot tell the lottery numbers. If I did, I certainly wouldn't be living here.
is
I'd be in
true.
Cabo. I'd be in the cave-ins. So people really think...
people ask you for the
They
numbers.
absolutely. They ask
Really?
random people on Facebook ask me for numbers,
Really?
So, and again, I'll just say, well, Spirit will not give me that answer, and it's not one of my abilities. Now, maybe it is someone's ability. It's just not mine. Everybody reads differently.
This is true. Everybody's different.
Yeah, so maybe
Everybody's-
someone can pick lottery numbers. It's just not me,
Right, and that's okay.
Yes.
It's
it
okay. I
absolutely
mean,
is.
everybody's got their own way of working in every profession, and everybody
Yes.
has their own sense of what they're really good at.
That's exactly
You know, and when you learn about the clairs, and you can learn about what you're good at with the clairs, you can help strengthen them, or you can go to one that you want to increase a little bit more.
Yes.
Because the more you know, the more Spirit can help, come through for you.
That's it.
And for the person sitting there, because you are serving Spirit for the sitter, So it's really kind of interesting. I've never had anybody ask me for numbers. I probably wouldn't be able to keep a straight face.
Well, you're on
I'd
a
love to laugh.
podcast now, so somebody's gonna.
You're right. So somebody's going to ask me for numbers. Numerology, please.
Yep.
That is so funny. But I just wanted to mention, because we only got 2 more minutes, I wanted to mention your website, but I wanted to say also that John Shred's going to be having his podcast next week. So, and that's another spiritual show that
yeah.
people should come. And this is Illuminating Forward, the podcast. And it's been great to have Theressa Johnson here with us, and she's one of our Niagara Frontier celebrity mediums. And she's been around for decades, so
Yes.
it's not like this is a Johnny come lately, But as you can tell by just talking with her, but I want you to know how you can get her information. Somebody's sending you hearts, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Candace. You can always text me at 716-481-2799, or you can always check my Facebook page, because I read at a lot of different places. I read at Oh, goodness, I just had a senior moment. Soul Healing in Clarence. I teach at Painted Love in Kenmore. I'm also at Flickr doing readings in Hamburg. And you never know where else I might pop up at. I'm always at the Earth Spirit Expo. I travel to Erie. Well, not anymore because winter's coming, but I'll be back in reading in Erie in April, you know. So take a look at my website. Take a look at my Facebook page. Text me. I'm always available.
And what's your phone number?
716-481-2799.
And there's 2 S's in Theresa, right?
Yes, it's Theressa Johnson, and that's because my mother didn't know how to spell Theresa.
Well, the way other people spelled it.
One S or an H or, you know. She had to make me different. I always say that.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's exactly it.
Sometimes different is good. Okay, and I'll be back the first Thursday of the month next month. And we're going to see who we're going to have the first Thursday of the month next month. And I will be letting you know on my Facebook page, Virginia Ginger Kerwin McIntyre, or Reverend Virginia McIntyre. And it's been a pleasure to be with you. And I want to give a special thank you to Richard Brecka, who was really trying hard tonight to get our phone lines working. And I was just like, oh, we'll do it. And no. And this really worked out with the different screens, didn't you?
It did. It's wonderful.
Really
I just have to say, long live Mercury retrograde.
All right. Thank you so much. And peace. And I love you madly.